Hey guys, welcome to AP Deconstructed. Today's video is a video about APCS, and in this video we're going to be covering some of the basics that you should know, but more specifically we're going to be covering conditionals and loops. This video will just be a basic intro, so I'm just going to be going over the basics of conditionals and loops, and I'm not actually going to be going into any practice problems. So if you want practice problems, please check for a video that we'll be releasing soon where I'll be going over some actual practice problems that will help you apply the things that you've learned in conditionals and loops. So just for this video, we're just going to be learning and talking about conditionals and loops. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay guys, so what we're using today for this video is REPL.it, and it's actually a IDE that you can actually open up in your browser. And just for ease of use, I'm going to be using this today to show you guys how to use conditionals and loops. So anyways, without further ado, let's actually get into it. So the first thing we're going to talk about is conditionals, and let's just simply go over what a conditional is. So let's say that you're hungry and you are in the middle of a split pathway where you get to decide between going to the right and to the left. So you really want to get to a restaurant, a fast food restaurant, really fast, okay? And you have these two choices of roads. Now your condition is that you want food and you want to get to a restaurant. So your condition could be if the right. So we'll also put a parameter saying that one of the pathways for sure has a restaurant at the end of it. So your condition could be something like, well, if the right side road has a restaurant, go to the right side. If not, go to the left side. So if it's not on the right side, you automatically know it's on the left side, which is why you're going to be going to the left. So very similarly in Java, we can apply the same things that we just learned in what I just explained with the two roads, right? So in Java, so let's take a actual example here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to define a Boolean. So in this video, we're assuming that you watched our video on variables. If you haven't, please go check that out. But assuming you did, we'll get into this. So I'm going to first declare a Boolean. So we're going to name it roads, and we're going to put it at, or for now, we'll put it at false. Okay, so currently this Boolean called roads is false, meaning that we'll assume that if it's false, it means that the road doesn't have a restaurant at the end of it. If it's true, it means that it does, okay? Now, let's get into the syntax of our conditional. So how you write a conditional is very simple. So first, what you're going to do is you're going to write if, and you're going to put parentheses. So inside the parentheses, you want to put your actual condition. The condition is what the if statement checks to see, and if it's true, it'll do whatever is inside the if. If it's false, it'll do whatever's in the else. So in the if, our condition will be if roads equals true. So we're just comparing. Okay, we're saying that if the roads Boolean is true, and we're going to put curly braces, and we're going to say that we will print out a message maybe to the user saying go to the right. Okay, well, if roads is true, we're going to go to the right. Now let's look at what if it's not true. Then you're going to put something called else, and same thing, curly braces. So if it's not true, so if the Boolean roads is false, we're going to actually print out something else. And you probably guessed it, we're going to print out go to the left. And simply, this is our simple basic conditional. So what we're saying is, currently you can see that this Boolean roads is false. So what do you think is going to get printed out? Let's quickly run it and see what happens. Alright, so if you can see it right here in the console, it's printed out go to the left. Well, why is that? We can simply look at this and tell. Currently the Boolean roads is false, and the condition is if roads is true, then print this out. But roads is already false, so we know we can skip this condition and go right to the else. And in the else, it says print go to the left, which is why that has printed out onto the console. Alright, so now we've simply covered the basic conditional, and let's look at some more complex usages of this conditional. So one other thing you can do with this conditional is comparing numbers. For example, let's just say I define an integer called nums. Called it, maybe I give it the value of 5, and I made another integer called add. Maybe I give it the value of 10 divided by 2. Okay. Now I want to see if add and nums are actually equal. If add is the same as num. So let's say I'm in a math class and there is a number that's written as 10 over 2, and it says 10 over 2, and I have to know whether 10 over 2 is greater, less than, or equal to 5. Well, we can test this in a conditional. So for example, let's use our if statement. So we'll say if nums, which is our first number, we want to know if they're equal. So if nums is equal, so again we're comparing integers, comparing primitive types, so we can use equals. So if nums equals to add, well, then maybe I'll actually define a Boolean here, saying Boolean is true. Maybe I'll say that is true is equal to true. Okay, so if they are equal, then it's true. Else, but as I said, in this problem, it can either be greater than, or it can also be less than. So for this, we have to also use something called an else if. So with an else if, you can have multiple different conditions. So here I'll say else if, which means that if not this condition, look at this condition. So now we'll say if nums is greater than add. What should we do here? Well, if nums is greater than add, why don't we say that is true equals to false. So then if nums is greater than add, then is true will be false. Well, the last thing is, what if it's nums is less than add? Well, we could just simply put an else if, saying else if nums is less than add, so it would look like this. But we don't really have to do this. The reason why is because if nums is less than add, if nums is not equal to add, and if it's not greater than add, we already know that it has to be less than add. Okay? Then we can just put our else statement, which just occupies the range of nums being less than add. So in this case, maybe we want to print a message telling us that put less than, or something like that. Okay, so here is a little bit more complex. We're using else ifs. So the thing is, you can actually use as many else ifs as you want in conditionals, right? And so it makes it really convenient for you to compare many different things. Now we're gonna go over loops now. Since we've covered the conditionals and basically what they are, we're gonna go into loops. So what is a loop? So we have to understand what a loop is. So a loop is something that keeps going in over and over. Maybe if you just think of a loop or something, it's kind of like a thing that just keeps repeating over and over. Well, that's exactly what a loop is in Java. So the first type of loop, there's two types, and the first one is called a while loop. So let's first define a Boolean. Maybe we'll call it running, and we'll say that it is currently true. All right, now let's look at our loop. So the first thing is the while loop. So inside the while loop, while a condition is true, which will define the condition, then run what's in the loop over and over and over until that condition is false. So the syntax of this is, again, just while, lowercase, and you want to put in brackets. So inside here will be a condition. So a condition is if running is true, curly braces, then we want to keep repeating whatever is inside this loop until running will be false. So let's just say that we're printing out a message. Now I'll tell you I'm going to let you think about what's going to happen if I run this. And I will tell you something that's really interesting about this once we run it. So let's try running this. So as you can see, it just keeps printing. It's endlessly and endlessly going, so I'll have to stop it, or else it's gonna just keep going over and over. It'll probably crash my computer. So as you can see, if I scroll down, it's the same thing over and over. Like, and it exit status at 143. That's when I actually stopped it. So this thing is it's infinitely going over and over and over. So what this is it is called an infinite loop, which means the loop never stops, and this is actually a very bad thing. You don't want this to happen. You don't want this to happen. So instead of this, maybe at the end of this, you can say running equals false. If you did this, what would happen is that it'll only print out one time. And why is that? Because while running is true, so running starts out as true, it'll print endless, and then instantly you're telling that the loop that running is actually false. So since you're telling me that it's false, it's gonna break out of the loop, because this loop it'll only do what's inside the loop as long as the running variable, the running Boolean, is equal to true. So therefore, it will break out of the loop, and it will sort of end the program. Okay, so just to see, we can actually run this and see what will happen. And as you can see, it only printed out endless one time. That's simply because of the false that I put there. Alright, now let's look at our second type of loop. And it's called a for loop. So for loop is actually a loop that will run a specific amount of times, and it's actually a very convenient and common thing to use. So the syntax is here. And one way I can actually explain the for loop is, let's say you are standing at a street and your home is 4 blocks away. You only want to, and each step you take, you can cover 1 block. Okay, let's just assume it's like that. Like you're like a giant, and each step you take is 1 block. You only want to move 4 times. So to tell yourself to move 4 times, you can use a for loop. So how the for loop works is, you want to first, there's 3 parameters in a for loop. The first one is an integer. The second one is the condition, or like the condition. The third one is the iteration. So for, you want to first put the integer. So the integer is usually called I. It can be anything. You can have integer b, integer my num, integer number, anything. But I is the most common and the most concise one. So int I equals 0. It can, and again, you can set this equal to anything, but to loop a certain amount of times, 0 is the best beginning thing to learn. So for int I equals 0, now condition is I is less than, I is greater than, or something like that. So we're gonna say I is less than, since we want to loop 4 times, we'll say I is less than 4. The last thing is called I++. So what I++ is I++ means that each time you end the loop, I will go get one number bigger. So the first time we run the loop, I is 0. Then once the loop finishes, when it goes back to run it the second time, I will become 1. So I will keep increasing every time I run the loop. When I is 3, it'll run the loop, but it'll increase to 4. And the condition we've put here is I is less than 4. So when I is 4, you can't run the loop anymore because I has to be less than 4. So it'll actually break out of the loop. So it's very cool because it'll run 4 times. So it'll run when I is 0, when I is 1, when I is 2, and when I is 3. That's 4 numbers right there. So this loop will run 4 times. So let's put the curly braces. And maybe our thing is system.out.print line message. Simple as that. Let's take a look. And there we go. We print a message 4 times. If I change this to 6, we're gonna get it to print 6 times. And there we go. 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. That's basically it. That's a for loop. So what we covered today, conditionals and loops. So conditionals, we know if, else if, and else. For loop and while loop. So these things are some basic things that you need to know for APCS 8. And make sure that you practice these, and be sure to check for our next video or another video that will actually go through some practice problems using both loops and conditionals. Okay, so thank you guys for watching this video, and please make sure to hit the subscribe and like button so that we are motivated to make more videos for you guys. So thank you for watching, and check out our channel for other videos. We have videos for other AP subjects such as biology, we have videos for Spanish, and we also have other videos for AP Computer Science A as well as AP World History videos, and we're going to keep making videos for more subjects in the future. So please make sure to check out our channel in the future. And thank you for watching this video. And again, this was Abhi Manu, and I'll see you guys next time.